What's going on, you guys? Keith Carnes, and welcome to episode 49 of Is It Real? This time we are looking at the Amityville horror, otherwise known as the Amityville killings, murders, whatever you want to call them. And this time we're going to look at it in the retrospective. Was the house really cursed? Did it really cause Butch DeFao to murder his entire family? And was he telling the truth, or was he just using this as a scapegoat to try to get out of being convicted of murdering his entire family? Before I get this started, I want to let you guys know that there's only one more episode remaining, episode 50, which will probably be out either late this month or early December. It will be the final episode of Is It Real before I put this series into retirement. I want to thank everybody for the amazing support, all my subscribers, and I already have something lined up for it, so no recommendations are needed. Thank you, though, anyway, if you were going to do so. So we're going to talk about this. So I'm going to give you guys a brief rundown on the story, give you guys my thoughts about this, and what I think about Butch DeFao's story. So here we go. So this is the murder of the DeFao family at around 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, November 13th, 1974. 23-year-old Ronald DeFao Jr. entered Henry's bar in Amityville, Long Island, New York, and declared, quote, "You got to help me. I think my mother and father are shot." DeFao and a small group of people went to 112 Ocean Avenue, which was located near the bar, and found that DeFao's parents were indeed dead. One of the group, Joe Yeswit, made an emergency call to the county police, who searched the house and found that 6 members of the same family were dead in their beds. The victims were Ronald DeFao Sr., 44, Lois DeFao, 42, and 4 of their children, Don, 18, Allison, 13, Mark, 12, and John Matthew, 9. All of the victims had been shot with a .35 caliber lever-action Marlin 336C rifle. Around 3 in the morning that day, the DeFao parents had been shot twice, while the children had all been killed with single shots. Physical evidence suggests that Lois DeFao and her daughter Allison were both awake at the time of their deaths, and according to Suffolk County Police, the victims were all found laying on their stomachs in their beds. The DeFao family had occupied 112 Ocean Avenue since purchasing it in 1965. The murdered members of the DeFao family are buried in nearby St. Charles Cemetery in Farmingdale. Ronald DeFao Jr., also known as Butch, was the eldest son of the family and was taken to the local police station for his own protection after suggesting to police officers at the scene of the crime that the killings had been carried out by a mob hitman whom he named. However, an interview with the station soon exposed serious inconsistencies with his version of the events. The following day, he confessed to carrying out the killings himself, and then alleged he had an alibi, proving he was out of state at the time of the killings. DeFao told detectives, "Once I started, I just couldn't stop. It went so fast." He admitted that he had taken a bath and redressed, and detailed where he had discarded crucial evidence such as bloodstained clothes and the Martin rifle and cartridges before arriving to work as usual. So he killed a total of 6 family members, his parents and his siblings, one of which was actually in a wheelchair. So that poor kid had no chance of defense. Luckily, he was asleep, so he was killed before he even knew what hit him. And yeah, so they basically said that Ronald DeFao, he ended up coming out later and saying that, it was haunted and that he was basically possessed and he was forced to do it, and that the house was cursed and the house was speaking to him, saying that he had to kill his family. And then later the Lutz moved in, and they ended up saying pretty much the same thing, that John Lutz, I think that was his name, he ended up saying that, he was starting to hear voices from the house and all this kind of stuff, and that it possessed him too, and it was trying to make him do the murders that happened not long before they moved into the house. So they ended up leaving in the middle of the night, leaving all their belongings behind, and the rest, as they say, is history. Now we have a ton of movies about him. I actually think we have another Amityville coming out next year. So basically, I'm just going to give my opinion here. I really think the guy's full of shit. I really, really do. I'm all for the paranormal. I believe in it. I do believe that it is possible to be possessed by an evil spirit. Absolutely, I do. But the problem with this guy's story is because he makes up all these things. If he was possessed from the gate, why wouldn't he just admit that? Yeah, it wouldn't have helped him, but it would have at least if he would have at least stayed consistent with his story and never changed it, at least would have brought a little more credibility to his claim. But in the beginning, he says that a hitman, who he named apparently, killed his family and wanted to kill him too, but he wasn't there. And then he ended up admitting that he killed them. But then also says he has an alibi proving he was out of state at the time of the killings. I mean, the guy can't keep his story straight. First a mob did it, then he did it, then he was out of state, and now he's possessed. So, Ronald DeFao, I think what this guy's problem is that he is just very, 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 very much wanting to kind of cast the blame away from himself. Maybe he thought that there was a way he could bullshit his way out of this, which obviously there wasn't. He was never released. He was never reconsidered as maybe being a victim. Ronald, he was guilty. Ronald DeFao Jr. was guilty, and he did what he did because he was a fucking psycho. And then there's some other, things that people don't understand, and people say, I don't understand how I don't understand how he killed all of them and none of them woke up, so, that's really weird. Maybe the spirits were messing with the victims, making them not hear this, which, I don't believe that's true. I think that it was just that they were sleeping, and maybe some of them heard it but just went back to sleep. Maybe they just thought it was something outside or something like that. But I don't think that really is enough to prove that, the Amityville killings were done by a supernatural force. There's a lot of information here. I'm not going to read it all because you guys would probably fall asleep while I read it. But I'll read a couple of the controversies surrounding the case, just a couple of them, because there is a lot. But if you guys want to check this out yourself, just Google it. It's easy. But it says, all 6 victims were found laying on their stomachs in their bed with no signs of struggle. The police investigation concluded that the rifle had not been fitted with a sound suppressor and found no evidence of sedatives being administered, leading speculation that someone in the house had been awake by the noise of the gunshots. Police officers and the medical examiner who attended the scene were initially puzzled by the rapidly scale of the killings and considered the possibility that more than one person had been responsible for the crime. Neighbors did not report hearing any gunshots being fired, and those who were awake at the time of the murder simply heard the dog barking. So that's another thing, though, too, that a lot of people don't understand, is that nobody outside of the house heard the gunshot, which I'm sorry to say, but it also doesn't really prove anything. But they also said they could simply hear the dog barking, so why could they hear the dog barking but not a rifle going off? It is a good question, but does it really prove anything? Not necessarily. And then they said that the rapid motion of how quick people were killed one after another leads them to believe, really puzzled them, and maybe even kind of led them to believe that there was more than one person involved, which also comes with the conspiracy that Dawn, who was also a victim, was actually involved in it. There was rumors going around that her and her brother had a sexual relationship, which is gross, it's incest. And then apparently they agreed to kill their family together. This is all a myth, though. It's never been proven or really disproven. But this is just a rumor, but they said that they were going to kill their family to be together in that fucked up kind of way, and then he ended up just killing her too because he didn't trust her not to blab to the police what happened. That's one of the theories. Do I believe that theory? No, I really don't. It says Ronald DeFao Jr. had a volatile relationship with his father, but the motive for the killings remains unclear. He asked police what he had to do in order to collect his father's life insurance, which prompted the prosecution to suggest that at the trial his motive was to collect on the life insurance policies of his parents. So that's interesting. So that's right there is another red flag. The guy's sitting here saying, how do I get my parents' life insurance? Yeah, they were just murdered, but fuck it, I want their money. When you're mourning the loss of a parent, the last thing you're interested or even give a fuck about is money. Since his conviction, he has given several varying accounts of how the killings were carried out. In 1986 interview for Newsday, Ronald DeFao Jr. claimed his sister Dawn killed their father, and their distraught mother killed all of the Ronalds before DeFao Jr. killed his mother. He said in the book, he stated he took the blame because he was afraid to say anything negative about his mother to her father and his father's uncle out of fear that they would kill him. So, you know, that doesn't make any sense to me. And there's just a lot of different things. This guy just cannot keep a story straight. I'm not going to get into the Lutz's case. That's for another time in a video maybe. But it's definitely interesting. It's definitely a very interesting case. Hollywood definitely agrees, as they've made a lot of money off of this story and this crazy stuff. But, you know, this is just one of those things where I don't believe there was anything supernatural about that house, including with the Lutz. I think it was just all a story. You know, there's people living there now, and the Amityville house has not been in the news for fucking decades, and believe me, if that house was as evil as people are saying, there would be tons of people abandoning that house, or reporting, yeah, we're having really bad, strange things going on, and it's just not there. It's just not happening, and a house doesn't just decide, well, I've gained too much attention to myself, I might as well stop haunting people and making people kill each other. It doesn't work that way. If that house was haunted, it would be haunted. I've lived in a haunted house, somewhat, you know, a house that definitely had spirits in it multiple times, a couple times in my life, and believe me, when it's haunted, it doesn't go away. So, you know, my final verdict on this one is that it is definitely bullshit. I don't believe it. I think Ronald DeFao just simply wanted to kill his family, and he wanted to get away with it, so he made up these crazy stories. And there's a reason he's made up so many stories, because he's trying to get away with it, and he's trying to cast the blame somewhere else because he's a coward. So anyway, this is Z. Keith Carnes. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Visit Row. Kind of a long one here. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in the future. And yeah, so thanks for watching, and you guys take it easy and be safe.